Caitlin. All right, and hello everyone. It is October 7th, 2021. My name is Jennifer Britton. I'm one half of the Remote Pathways podcast. We are super excited to bring to you our monthly community call. So hey, Michelle, how are you keeping today?
Good morning, Jen. I'm doing much better. I felt a little under the weather yesterday, but feeling back to it today and ready to be in this space with all of you. So excited.
And we're always excited to be back with you. We do these calls once a month, typically on the first Thursday of every month from 7 to 7:30, where we get to sort of do an overview of what we've been looking at. So as we get started, it is October, which, yes, is the 10th month of the year. So I thought it would be fun to take a look at some of these journaling prompts. I'm going to make the screen a little bit bigger, and hopefully you can read some of those. But as we get started, I'd like you to zoom into one of the graphics here and think about what's important for you to reflect on. So Michelle,
I love this.
You love this. It's a little different, right? It's always a little different here as we get into our warm up. So I want to give us just like a minute, literally, to find one, select one, and then take a note or two around what that means for you. I'm going to set my timer and I'll let you know when 60 seconds is done. All right, that's a little over a minute. So would you like to share, Michelle, which one you zoomed into this morning?
Yes, I did. It's found in the one column, and it's my focus on blank is going to help me because blank. So that's one. I said my focus is on program design and marketing. It's going to help me because I'm ready to, it'll help me prepare to launch new programs in 2022.
Very good. Very good.
You? What'd you pick?
I went to, I think probably because it's right in front of my good eye, I went to one on the O, which is I want to save more blank in order to blank. So I did three things. I want to save more money in order to move. I'm going to be moving in about a year and a half. That's the plan right now. We may retain this place, but I will definitely be moving. I also want to save more writing time so that I can feel more fulfilled and creative. And I want to save more of my bandwidth in order to be more strategic in this business. So moving on all of those fronts, but it was interesting that that one popped out today.
Such clarity. I love it.
Clarity on multiple levels, right? And I think that's hopefully what we do here at the Remote Pathways. It's not just about pathways, but it's also about layers. It's about lots of different things. So we hope that you enjoyed that. Let's get started. It's our usual warm up and in here. And just a reminder, we are now actually on Q4. We launched as of Friday with Q4. And so we are moving out of our momentum focus into a Q4 of reflection, which was another reason why I wanted to do these weekly journaling prompts. They actually come from my Teams 365 blog, all of those questions, and the digital conversation sparker journaling deck. So reflection will be some of our focus. I think we have some fun things. Next month or the following, we're going to do a vision session here in our apropos way. What do you have on the go for reflective time, Miss Michelle?
Well, it's a great question. I think it's tied to the same thing that I mentioned before, just upcoming programming. And it's not so much brand new things. It's taking the things that I'm already doing and launching in a new way. I think is the different thing. So reflecting on, the heart of my clients and what they really need so that I can come alongside them.
Yeah.
What
And I
is
think you really,
reflection for you?
well, yeah, I think we're really in a fast changing world. Last night I did an evening speaking event to a group of HR professionals, and I think it's just so apparent, like, this space, and the needs are not decreasing in volume, but they're, ever present. And even across organizations, I think they're very different from what I picked up. And no surprise on that.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So again, I think my reflection is, how do I keep, how do I just keep doing what I'm doing in a strategic
Yes.
way? Because it's really, really needed. And our voice is needed here at the Remote Pathways. So I think we may have some new listeners. If you've been with me in a recent speaking engagement, thanks for joining us. And again, this is part of the Plan, Do, Track business philosophy. So Remote Pathways grew out of a couple of things, including the Plan, Do, Track body of work. It's a workbook planner that I published back in late 2018, early 2019. What's lovely about it is it's an undated planner. So as we get into the Q4 process, maybe it's a time to pull up the quarterly planning sheets out of Plan, Do, Track. Certainly, I'm looking forward to taking people through the annual planning process later this, really in November and December. So what we do now, I think in Q4 is, I heard you say, Michelle, really sets us up for success on that Q1 focus, the Q2 experimentation, and the Q3 momentum. So awesome.
I think I'm 2 or 3 years into this flow of the focus, experimentation, momentum, and reflection that you introduced. I love it. It truly is a pathway that you can take, I'm sure beyond working remotely, but it just helps anchor me as a remote worker to move things forward because there's so many things that are
Yeah, well,
changing.
that's it. Like, we can get so distracted, right? Like, the whole environment we operate within is distracting. So how do we also create these macro frames,
Yeah.
which is really what we're bringing every month. So thank you for joining us, as always. So last month we talked motivation. I shared the claims framework that came out in the new, if I may present it, in the new 90-day guide for success, which is now on
Yay!
your bookshelves. You can pick up a copy, and I am taking people through this every weekday morning for Q4 from 7:30 to 8 a.m. So stay tuned in the Zoom room. But what is nice about it is it sort of is 90 days of different ways to focus on things that will move the needle. So there's motivation in it. We certainly sat down, had a great conversation. Our latest episode, which you've just posted, Michelle, is with Liam Martin of Time Doctor, but also the co-founder of the Running Remote conference. And Liam, Michelle, and I had a fascinating conversation maybe 9 months ago, I think, around his views on work and leadership. And certainly, his conversation with us around asynchronous leadership and conversations, communication, really has been playing out as the world has unfolded. So with that, Michelle, what else do you want to say about our latest episode?
Yeah, it was interesting to listen to it 9 months later, even though we recorded a long time, because yes, exactly what you said. It truly is playing out that way, that a lot of people are taking he really zoomed in on the asynchronous management and how that is helpful for teams to navigate everything that we're seeing, just this massive shift to remote work. And how that can be beneficial. So yeah, it was really interesting to listen back in time.
Yeah, and we hope that you'll enjoy it. What was episode 45? I think it was a really good one, but I didn't pull in the graphic for it.
I've
Episode
slept
45.
since then. I'll have to look. Let me see.
Yeah, it was a good one though. And I think it was Michelle and I want to say it was Michelle
It
and I
was.
talking.
It was definitely us. Here, I can pull up.
Yeah, she's going to pull it up because we are releasing these
Huh.
every 2 weeks. So it was.
Making your hybrid meetings more effective.
Oh yes, making your hybrid meetings more effective. Who doesn't need that, right? We need
Yes.
that. And it's been interesting because I've been having a lot of people reaching out. So obviously they're listening to the podcast or finding the podcast. So with here's a little buzz from Liam, and I hope that you will enjoy actually Michelle's sound bites that she does for each of the episodes. You can find those typically on our Facebook page. So definitely check us out if you're still on Facebook at Remote Pathways. We are also on Instagram, although interesting story, I was impersonated this week as
Oh,
Jen.Britton. Someone impersonated me and started reaching out to my entire contact list.
oh
That was
dear.
shut down pretty fast. So even if, you are online, check us out in all these different formats. So I thought it would be really interesting to talk trends, right? I figured you might say something like you did with Liam. And I think it's been fascinating, right? As we look at what has happened, not only in 2020, but I think 2021 really has been yet another, it's not a pivot, but it's been a yet another turn in this remote workspace. So I thought you and I could have a bit of dialogue around, what are you seeing as trends right now? Because some really interesting research coming out, some factoids. I'm continuing to post these and share them over at the Virtual and Remote Visionaries Hub on Facebook. And one that came across my radar screen I think it was last night actually. I haven't even posted it yet, but it was talking about how many people really are um, not hungry, like, there's sort of this straddling of I don't want to work from home. I don't necessarily want to work hybrid. I want to go into a co-working space. So whether or not that's because my energy is with focus there, I'm now getting a lot of stuff on my feed around co-working and what is often being called the third office, which I thought was a really neat term. So I see one of the trends, certainly, even in my world, is yes, I've got to get out of this office. So I'm back to I did it yesterday for an hour and a half. I'll do it today for an hour and a half. I'll be dropping by the library on my way back from a meeting to just get a solid burst of work in. And I'm probably 10 times more productive in that different environment because it's a different energy.
Yes,
So
absolutely. So well said. Ooh, I can't wait to see that. That Visionary Hub place where you share that information is so valuable. If you're not there yet, join our group. How do they get there, Jen? How do they sign
yeah,
up for that?
so great question. So I think the easiest way probably is to just go to your Facebook feed, and it's the Virtual and Remote Visionaries Hub. We'll try and make sure it's in some of the footers of the videos. Maybe I'll just put a link in the video footer. But it's just through Facebook. It's a private group. You do need to request permission to join because I do want to make sure that it's a valuable place where people feel good about coming. And what I've been doing with it is actually, it's become really a portal of all the latest research that I'm coming across. So it's more of a research place than anything else. So there's been that. And there was one other article that I posted that people here in the Toronto area would really appreciate because we're seeing tremendous influence on workspaces, right? Like, so not workplaces, but workspaces. And the latest statistics in Toronto are fascinating. Like, we have one of the highest downtown core vacancy rates in I think it was like the last 3 decades. So there's a place that links Toronto downtown through all the like millions or probably billions of square footage called the Path. And it's literally several miles long, connecting all of the downtown core. We're like New York, right? We have all these big, massive skyscrapers. And so what has happened since February of 2020, obviously those retail, like in the Path, which is this downtown maze, it's underground. You don't ever have to really come up if you don't want to, which is nice in the cold winter months. But it is like kilometer or mile after mile, like food courts, shopping, professional services. So it's like a whole world, underground world there. But obviously, since March 2020, most places have closed, and now many have just like completely ceased operations.
Hmm.
So Garth Turner, who is he's sort of a business writer and an economics writer, I would probably call him. He was talking about the Path and just like the impact of the shift away from the downtown core and what that may mean for quite some time in a city like Toronto. So what's
Wow.
interesting, as much as the business is shifting, still high demand for condos, even though the condo prices has dropped a little in the downtown core.
I'm wondering if there could be a connection or some kind of solution between the desire for co-working space and then all that space that's there. What if they just repurposed some of those vacancies that they have? It might be an opportunity, and you would still need the food courts and everything else,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah. It's really, it's a really fascinating study of, human and economic development. I'm really keeping
Yeah.
an eye on the whole economic development because I have seen the other side post disaster, that it's just like there's always a rebound effect, and many things come online, but some things are this, an event. Certainly we never lived through anything like this, but a crisis moment is an opportunity to reinvent. And so, I think that's why I wanted to bring trends today. So what are you noticing? What are you picking up on in your area?
I'm hearing a lot of people talk about where do we build community consistently?
Yeah.
Because there are multiple social media platforms, all this different thing. We had the big thing that happened with Facebook this last week and Instagram going down. So even prior to this, I heard so many people saying, we're trying to get communities in our own space off our own website so that they're not dependent on other people. But it just makes me curious how that will work, right? Because one of the benefits of Facebook or LinkedIn or something like that is people are already there. It's kind of like the virtual path, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're walking down those miles of internet highway knowing that people that travel with you are there. So if we're all spread out in our own communities, what does that mean? So
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see what's going on there.
So interesting. And it begs the question, what are the connectors of the connecting? It's
Yeah.
like to reconnecting workspaces. Yeah. Like if you have all the bubbles, right? If you have, whoops, wrong book. If you have all the bubbles, like what are the connectors, right? Because that's almost like silos in and of itself. So it's interesting you mentioned that because yes, with Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, and I work with so many groups that are on WhatsApp. My European clients love WhatsApp. And like, I think for them, it was like a big, like, things really screeched to a halt earlier this week when everything was down. And me, for years, I've retained the Conversation Sparker Zone, which I built out on Mighty Networks,
Yes.
right? So one of the reasons why I started developing the Conversation Sparker Zone, maybe 3 years ago now. I think it may be 3 years this January, which is a long time. I don't use it as more of a social network. I'm using it actually more for courses than anything else, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, what I like about it as a network is, you as the network host retain that. And you are the one that is, creating that safe space for whatever type of community coexists. Because certainly I've been seeing and hearing from so many that they've just been so off put by what they're seeing and experiencing on, say, a Facebook. And I don't spend enough time on Facebook to really see that, but it probably speaks to the algorithms as well, right? Like, what are you even getting to see? And I've become aware this fall that there are things on the go that I hear about through my email, never, ever, ever see on social media. But I know that they're heavily being promoted on social media, but I just don't get it because for whatever reason, the algorithm isn't picking it up. So again, to democracy, and I don't like to say that word a lot, but like, I think it really is an issue around accessibility and information flow. So like, who should be the gatekeeper?
It's so funny. I still go back to like the old school stuff. I have my notebook. I write down the people and the organizations I like to follow, and I no longer depend on the algorithms. I check off, have I seen anything from this person lately? No, I intentionally go there and look because if I don't take, if I don't take the first step of that, then I'm just riding that virtual highway of whatever they want to feed me. And I'm missing out from people that are really important to me. And I want to hear their voice. So yeah, I've just got a handwritten checklist.
A handwritten checklist. So that's another interesting trend, right? Like, yeah. And how do we allow our world to, let me reframe that. What factors do we allow to influence and shape our world, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's as
Yes.
simple as that. We have a choice. We do have a choice. And I think people often forget that, you know what, there is a world outside of the digital space.
Yeah.
And we have lots of options. So
Yes.
so that's another trend. Anything else you're noticing, Michelle, before we go to sort of look at, a wrap up?
Yeah, I think there's more in-person things happening too. I think, like you said, the co-working space, but people are asking that question of, okay, if we're not working in the office together all the time, when are the times and what are the purposes that we do want to connect in person? Because like you and I, for example, we met in person one time and
Yeah.
look all the impact that has. And you've experienced that. You have such a strong background of that, of the different teams that you have led. And it is powerful to come together, even if it's once a year, once every 2 years. It can ripple for a long time.
It can. And I always said, as a remote leader, right, we needed that annual or biannual touch point. We really needed that time to come together, sit together, eat together, laugh together in an extended period. Because while you could do that here, it's not the same.
Right.
So, hopefully for many of you, you're able to start seeing some of those opportunities as well. And it will continue to change the world. So, with that, do check out the new 90-day guide for success, or join me 7:30 a.m. in my Zoom room. You can find out information about that in all of my channels. So it is extending the daily steps plus consistent action equals momentum in a neat way, because it's a 90-day guide for success, pathways to thrive in a virtual, remote, and hybrid world. It's book number 2 in the Reconnecting Workspaces series, and there will be more to follow. So with the 90-day guide, it really is geared for the new remote worker, the person who is reboarding, as I like to say, sort of getting back to the office, or maybe getting back to the co-working, getting back to the work from home, because it can also be used as a 90-day sprint. And what's
Hmm.
interesting is a lot of people who are joining me for those live weekday 7:30 a.m. calls in my Zoom room, which is the same as this Zoom room that we're recording on today, is a lot of them are using it as a 90-day sprint. So you don't have to join us for the whole time. You can join us for one or more. If you'd like to download the calendar with like the 90 days of ideas, just head on over. It is, I believe, bit.ly/list 90-day guide. I will put that in the chat. And the book is now available on Amazon. So what I did is I thought I would just like open the new book at a random spot, see what theme or topic was coming up. And in the midpoint that I've opened today, week 5, this week's foundation theme is resilience and change. So resilience and change, certainly another theme or trend that we've been hearing. What I love, and I'm just going backwards to each chapter starts with an icon, of course, right? Part of that dice set that we played with
Yes.
last time.
Love that.
And this is day 33, Getting Unstuck. Albert Einstein wrote, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." And I think that's a nice reminder that, yes, maybe there's some time in the third office that's overdue. So for yourself, I hope that you're going to have a good month ahead. We'll be back, of course, the first Thursday of November. Michelle, what are your final reflections as we go to wrap up today's call?
I'm joining you at 7:30 this morning, right after this one. I just love this. And I love that it paired with the dice too, that you just came out. It's just so
Yeah,
much,
so
that's fun.
stay tuned with the dice. They're going to be released later. I'm just in the process of finalizing the boxes for the 3. There'll be 3 volumes of 5 dice each, and it'll be a whole experiential process. So hopefully before Black Friday, we'll have that. So we're going to close the room because it looks like others are coming to join us. We'll see you
All
on the
right.
first Thursday of next month. Be well, take care, enjoy. Bye, everyone.